Hello, and welcome back to my humble show. I'm your host for tonight and every other night, the Articulate Thinker, hopefully. Here to bring you art articles and articulation straight from Articulation Station, where I'll be assessing the situation. So be sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it. I recorded my first show in quite some time last night. So late that I only ended up with 3 hours of sleep. I'm going to keep it on here, but I am running out of energy, so my apologies if I seem a little slow. I want to get this show on the road, well, into bed, so I can rest my weary head. But in the meantime, I appreciate you for being here. Once again, I don't want to keep this going too long. I just want to keep it going strong. So, moving on. I have some things to share with you, some commentary, some content in the reverse order. Starting with this post from earlier in the day, posted by Kamala Harris herself. She said, "Today I signed the forms officially declaring my candidacy for President of the United States. I will work hard to earn every vote. And in November, our people-powered campaign will win." Okay. Powered by which people, one might ask? And I must point out that although she says here that she will work hard to earn every vote, she has never actually earned a presidential vote in the past, because back in 2020, she dropped out of the race before the primaries because she was so unpopular. That's right. And she has remained unpopular. So much so that, for example, she lost over 90% of her staff since entering the office, the Oval Office, as the vice president for Joe Biden. Anyone wonder why she was selected by him? Well, if you want to know more about that, check out my Articulate Thinker News Clips channel, where I uploaded a 24-minute long compilation of clips yesterday showing definitively that she was indeed an affirmative action DEI hire. But that's neither here nor there. Just thought I would mention it, just in case you care. But feel free to disagree with me. I will preface this with that. Everyone is welcome here, and I will try my best to respond to each and every one of you in the comments below, assuming some of you will disagree with me. Play nice, or don't. It's up to you. It really is. Yes, once again, there's a suggestion here that this is a people-powered campaign. But once again, I ask, what people powered this? Well, it was not a grassroots movement. It was not a bottom-up movement. It was a top-down movement perpetuated by establishment Democrats who clearly felt that Joe Biden was no longer fit. Namely, after he crumbled in the presidential debate. Speaking of presidential debates, I spoke all about that, and the debate over whether or not there will even be another debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I spoke all about that, and then some in my previous show. Go back and check out that if you haven't already done so. I'm not going to be speaking about that in this show, but I do have some more things to show you. Moving on to a post by Jenna Ellis. She said, "Kamala is endorsed by Obama, Clinton, Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, Soros, Hollywood elites. And if you think she's a moderate, I have a waterfront property in the Sahara to sell you. Tell any one of those individuals they may buy it. Actually, they have plenty of waterfront properties already. So yeah, they don't need any more. Unless they are non-existent ones. Hypothetical ones. So I want to read through just a few comments below this post, just because why not? Why not see what the people have to say? But yes, like I said, clearly this was a top-down, somewhat propagandistic priority, which only became a priority once it was clear that Joe Biden had spiraled into senility. We saw it long ago, but they couldn't pretend otherwise. Once on the world stage, he crumbled, like I said. So they swapped him out in coup fashion. I'm not saying it was a coup. I'm not saying it was illegal or anything like that. Though there was questions surrounding some of the funding, some of the donations which were put on hold once people lost faith in Joe Biden, and then continued once again once Kamala Harris took his place in the race. But I'm not going to get into the legal weeds of that. I just know that some people have raised some issues. I don't think that effort is going to effectuate much of anything. I think that this race is what it is. It's going to be Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. And you can tell me who you think is going to win. I'm just saying that she has some big backers. The big wigs are backing her, as mentioned on this list. But yeah, scrolling down, just a few comments. Tony Edwards says, but I heard she might pick an astronaut as her running mate, so that makes her moderate. Not exactly. If you would have asked GovTrack, I believe it was, not too long ago, they would have had her listed as the most liberal member of the Senate. The most leftist member of the Senate. But now, there has been a bit of revisionist history. And people are indeed trying to paint her as some kind of moderate. Well, it depends on who you ask, who in the media you ask. Ultimately, they are just all on board with her and her campaign. In regards to the revisionist history, though, there's, say, this notion of her not being the border czar. How bizarre. Just a couple of years ago, everyone in the media was agreeing that she had been appointed as some form of border czar by Joe Biden. But now, because of how big of a fail she was, how big of a failure she was in regards to the border, they are now disassociating her from her own title, which may or may not have been technically given to her. Border czar. Look it up. That's what she was. That's what she failed at. So now the media are saying, oh, she was never technically appointed border czar by Biden, by the Biden administration. Well, I disagree. And by the way, the people who are saying semantics, they're the ones who will tell you that there was a don't say gay bill passed in Florida a couple of years ago, give or take. Yeah, same people. So it's all about propaganda. It's all about agenda. It's all about narrative. Got to control that. Reading on here, Trump family parody account says Obama successfully performed a silent coup against a sitting president and chose the most unlikable woman on planet Earth to take his place. That's not what the polls are now suggesting, I must say. Another post, another comment from Trump family parody. Huge boost for Donald Trump. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has canceled multiple campaign events and is possibly going to endorse Donald Trump for president. He promptly disputed those notions. So he says he's not going to be dropping out anytime soon. He's not going to be endorsing Donald Trump in such a way. So that's a bit of fake news for you there. Meaning I better not read any more comments or run into some more fake news. I won't say trust me, though, because that's a weird thing to say when it comes to covering the news. if a news anchor is saying, this is news you can trust, you probably can't trust it. I'm not saying that as a broad brush, but in more cases than not, that's what it comes down to. Don't trust them. Don't trust the politicians either. Was it a coup? Did the Obama successfully perform a silent coup? Well, it was silent until it wasn't. They will tell you that over the course of one night, Joe Biden suddenly had an epiphany and decided that it was time to drop out of the race. To save democracy from the threat that is Donald Trump. They will say it has nothing to do with his health. Absolutely nothing to do with his health. Karine Jean-Pierre, for example, said in her following press briefings that Freudian slip there, Joe Biden was perfectly fit, perfectly fine, so much so that he could serve another full term. He was just too busy doing the right thing. After all this time, in the dead of night, while at home suffering from COVID, he put out a statement saying, yeah, time's up. But that's that. So, in my previous show, I read through this recent post from Donald Trump. He said something to the effect of, well, let me read it word for word. There is a strong sense by many in the Democrat Party, namely Barack Hussein Obama, that Kamala Harris is a Marxist fraud who cannot beat President Trump, and they are still holding out for someone better. Therefore, it would be inappropriate to schedule things with Harris because Democrats very well could still change their minds. Interesting, because it played into his reasoning for backpedaling on whether or not he will be willing to debate her. He suggested that the Obamas might pull another sneak attack, another silent coup, per se. However, shortly after that, the Obamas, both of them, announced their full endorsement of Kamala Harris. More fully than they endorsed Joe Biden, so it seems. So here's this video posted by Barack Obama on his account earlier in the day, Friday. He said, earlier this week, Michelle and I called our friend Kamala Harris. We told her we think she'll make a fantastic president of the United States and that she has our full support. At this critical moment for our country, we're going to do everything we can to make sure she wins in November. We hope you'll join us. Here's a short 55-second long clip. Go ahead and play it.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Okay. Do you find that convincing, compelling, or just plain cringy? I would be interested to know, so let me know in the comments below. Michelle Obama also posted this to her account, saying, I'm so proud of my girl, Kamala. Barack and I are so excited to endorse her as the Democratic nominee because of her positivity, sense of humor, and ability to bring light and hope to people all across the country. We've got your back, Kamala Harris. It almost sounds like she's describing what Barack Obama was described as back when he ran. All about bringing that light and hope, you know. So much for that. Well, some liked him. Many liked him. I liked him for a time. And then I became a man. So initially, they didn't actually endorse Kamala Harris. So people, including Donald Trump, were wondering, what's going on? Is Kamala Harris legitimately the chosen vessel for the Democrat Party? Or is she just a segue into another big sneak attack? Another silent coup? So yes, initially, Barack Obama put out this statement, a lengthy statement, which I will not read, not in its entirety. But an endorsement was missing from this. The title of the statement was My Statement on President Biden's Announcement. An announcement about an announcement. At the end of it, he said, for now, Michelle and I just want to express our love and gratitude to Joe and Jill for leading us so ably and courageously during these perilous times, and for their commitment to the ideals of freedom and equality that this country was founded on. So just by the wording, they seem to be suggesting that they would be making an endorsement. They just wanted to focus on their good friend, Joe Biden, for starters. This was the starter pack. So I'll give them that. It's similar to how Joe Biden initially dropped out or announced that he was going to be withdrawing from the race without, in his initial statement, endorsing his vice president, Kamala Harris. People were making a big deal out of that, saying, why did he wait 30 minutes or however long it was to endorse her? I don't think it's a big deal. I think he just wanted to have the statement separate for the sake of future categorization, you know, if that makes any sense. But yes, the other bigwigs on Jenna Ellis's list, this was Hillary Clinton's statement. Well, she said, my statement on today. This was right after Joe Biden dropped out of the race. She said it's her statement, but it's her reposting Bill Clinton. And he said, statement from President Clinton and Secretary Clinton. I don't know which one of them actually wrote this, actually typed this out. It's just interesting that Bill Clinton says, statement from us, and then Hillary Clinton reposts it and says, my statement. Seems to suggest that she is the one who typed it up. I don't know that I should read through all of that. It's just a bunch of back scratching. Statement from President Clinton and Secretary Clinton on President Biden capping his extraordinary career of service with a presidency that has lifted America out of the unprecedented pandemic, created millions of new jobs, rebuilt a battered economy, strengthened our democracy, and restored our standing in the world. By any measure, he has advanced our founders' charge to build a more perfect union and his own stated goal of restoring the soul of our nation. And then later on they say, we are honored to join the president in endorsing Vice President Harris and will do whatever we can to support her. Do you think this is a turn on or a turn off for voters? Of course, it depends on who you ask, but overall, do you think all these establishment endorsements will benefit Kamala Harris? Or will they do the opposite? Sorry, the text is so small there. I could have enlarged that a bit when I was reading it off. It was all I could do to read it. But let me just move on here. taking longer than I wanted to. I guess this will not be a pod. It will be a podcast. Pelosi endorses Harris. So here's the Pelosi endorsement in case you missed it. She says, "My enthusiastic support for Kamala Harris for president is official, personal, and political." This one took a little bit longer, so people were speculating, wondering if Kamala Harris was, once again, the chosen vessel. I think that some of these politicians were just waiting a little while, partly because they were probably the ones working behind the scenes to push Joe Biden out of the race. They didn't want to jump the gun too much on endorsing the one next in line, the chosen one, Kamala Harris. So they waited a little while. I could be wrong about that. It just seems to be a little bit strategic. This is a lengthy statement as well. I'm not going to read it, but Pelosi's statement on Vice President Kamala Harris. A bunch more back scratching, butt kissing too. Lastly, she said, "In the Democrat Party, our diversity is our strength, and our unity is our power. Now we must unify and charge forward to resoundingly defeat Donald Trump and enthusiastically elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. Onward to victory." Sorry if I sound overly enthusiastic. I'm basically trying to keep myself awake at this point. Now for Chuck Schumer's endorsement. All of this is old news at this point for the most part. The Obama's endorsement was the most recent one. I'm just going through all of this other context just so that I can provide context and also content. "Today, I am proud to endorse Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States. She has earned the nomination, and Democrats are more united than ever before behind her to defeat Donald Trump and win in November." That was on the 23rd. And I don't want to get caught up in these comments beneath the post, but someone says, "Why did you shield Biden's deterioration from the American people for so long?" Yes, great question. For 3 years and then some, they're like, he's absolutely fine. He's definitely going to not just run for re-election. He's going to win, and he's going to serve 4 more full years. A full term. Maybe even more than that. He would be fine at 100 years old. Doggone it. And then suddenly, they're like, just kidding. But also, it had nothing to do with his health. Yeah. Even if you don't think it did, you know deep down inside that the only reason why you took the keys away from Grandpa was because it was clear to everyone else that he was not fit to serve. And therefore, he was dropping in the polls. He was not going to win. He could not defend his own positions, his own policies. And so, therefore, because of his decline in health, you couldn't hide his decline in health anymore. You couldn't play pretend anymore. That's that. And this is Hakeem Jeffries' endorsement. Well, he said a bunch of things. And I don't want to waste your time with his words, as robotic as they are. I have some edits up on my Articulate Thinker News Clips channel laying that out, but here's ultimately simply said what he had to say. Donald Trump is now officially the oldest presidential nominee of a major political party in American history. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris is doing her thing. Doing her thing. My nose is getting plugged. I might as well roll with it. Doing her thing. Ironic how now that Joe Biden, the oldest president ever, is out of the race, it's okay to talk about decline in health and age. 5 minutes ago, it's like you were ageist if you said that guy is old. Now that guy, as in Joe Biden, is out of the race, people like Hakeem Jeffries, politicians like Hakeem Jeffries are saying, Look at how old he is. That's hilarious. And they're going to be talking about it more. They couldn't talk about it too much before because it was clear to everyone that as old and deteriorated Donald Trump is, Joe Biden was way worse. So they didn't want to play that card. Now that card is available. So they're going to play it for what it's worth. And this was Joe Biden's endorsement shortly after he announced that he was going to be withdrawing. He said, "My fellow Democrats, I have decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president." Really? We know how that went. That affirmative action DEI hiring process went. But anyways, he continues, "And it's been the best decision I've made. Today I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. Let's do this. You can do it." There they are. Living happily ever after. Although in Joe Biden's case, he will most likely not be living too much longer. Sad but true. Not wishing any harm upon the guy. I'm just saying. It was essentially elder abuse. If not for the fact that it's exactly what he was asking for. And Jill Biden's endorsement of sorts of Kamala Harris. She said, "To those who never wavered, to those who refused to doubt, to those who always believed the lies, my heart is full of gratitude. Thank you for the trust you put in Joe. Now it's time to put that trust in Kamala. Love, Jill." Handwritten note here. So yeah. Also ironic how she was on shows like The View just weeks before he dropped out saying, "He is fit as a fiddle. He works out every day. He's fine. He's going to win this. Donald Trump is the one who cannot put two sentences together." Now she's like, "Thank you for trusting us as we lied to your faces for 3+ years. Thank you so much. Now trust Kamala Harris because she's so honest." Not. But she's also supported by Alex Soros. And if the Soroses say, you're one of the good guys, then you must be one of the good guys, or good gals, I should say. He said, "It's time for us all to unite around Kamala Harris and beat Donald Trump. She is the best and most qualified candidate we have. Long live the American dream. Hashtag Harris 2024. Yeah. So yeah, spokesman of the Soros family there. Lump him in with George Soros, if you will. What about George Clooney? Remember him? Remember how he wrote this piece? Supposedly wrote this piece. I don't know if he actually wrote it himself. But he published this piece in the New York Times saying, "I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee." That happened. They got a new nominee. And then he, along with many others, endorsed Kamala Harris. They got their wish. Here's an article from Hindustan Times. Not actually familiar with this publication, but an article is an article. Big Hollywood celebs endorse Kamala Harris, George Clooney, to Cardi B and Beyonce. See full list. Some info within this article, somewhat interesting. I don't really want to get lost in the sauce here. I already mentioned why George Clooney is relevant. But what about Charlie XCX and her album titled Brat, which has now been tied to the campaign strategy of Kamala Harris? childishly enough. If you know, you know. If you don't need to know. Barbara Streisand, searching for her own personal rebranding of the Streisand effect. John Legend, yeah, okay. He's also for Kamala Harris. No surprise there. So is his woman. Cardi B, Ariana Grande, Beyonce, many more, of course, but those are just the few mentioned in this particular article. I am nearing the end of my show here. A couple thoughts. I saw this post by Ben Shapiro earlier. I thought it was worth bringing up. He said the media's overwhelming sycophancy for Harris is going to drive serious backlash. Voters will be reminded just who she is. And she is not a moderate, a tough-on-crime prosecutor, or a kindly, cool auntie. She is a historically incompetent radical leftist who lies constantly. All day I was seeing clips pop up revealing her incompetence on various policy positions. And I know I've already mentioned my Articulate Thinker News Clips channel multiple times, but if you subscribe there, in the upcoming days you will see some compilations. I already uploaded the one. I will be uploading some more because she has some doozies. Will they come back to bite her once the honeymoon wears off and she is slightly less than a shiny object? At least for the independents and people on the fence about who to vote for or whether to even vote. Only time will tell who will prevail. But I said backlash is definitely possible once the Kamala Harris honeymoon wears off and she faces a single set of timidly tough questions. Yeah, she tends to stumble all over herself once she's asked any tough questions. And for that reason, she will likely not be doing any interviews with people who will be asking her tough questions about whether or not she was the border czar. But again, it's kind of telling how she handled that so terribly that they're desperate to separate her from any conversation about whether or not she was even handling it. Another post, this one from Daryl B. Harrison, who said, "This, in my opinion, pretty much sums up Kamala Harris's campaign platform. 1. Kill the babies. 2. Take the guns. 3. Groom the children. 4. Open the borders. 5. Redistribute the wealth." No mention of abolishing fracking, which she also said she wanted to do back when she was running for president, which she now has the opportunity to be. Yeah, the list could go on, but though that is a bit rhetorically written, rhetorically typed, that's the gist of it. That right there. And if that's what you want, I guess vote for her. And may God save your soul. But, you know, I'm not telling you to vote for Donald Trump. He has many flaws. So much so that I'm not even 100% set on voting for him. I'm just not. I've kind of been done with this race, or at least I was, up until he got shot, literally took a bullet, and rose like a phoenix from the ashes. And it's not just that he got shot, because I've said time and time again, like, him getting prosecuted and or convicted, I guess it would be and convicted, because you don't really get convicted if you don't get prosecuted. You know, that sort of thing does not inspire me to vote for someone. I'm not like, oh, he's being prosecuted, I've got to vote for him now. That's proof that he should be the president. That's not how I think. Likewise, when he got shot, I wasn't just like, oh, he got shot, he definitely needs to be the president. No, it's the way he rose up in a way that Joe Biden couldn't possibly. Joe Biden's too busy falling down. that inspired me, I must say. The whole fist in the air, fight thing. Getting right back on the campaign trail. A couple of days later, seen in public. A few days later, he was at the convention giving a 2-hour-long speech when Joe Biden was in bed, obviously. And then, after that, Donald Trump got back out on the rally stage. Did another rally, like nothing had happened. And now I've heard that he's going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, to do another rally there in honor of Corey Carpenter. So that's something. You know, those are the things that inspire me. They do. But a lot of the word vomit coming out of his mouth just does not inspire me. So we have word salad by Kamala Harris versus word vomit by Donald Trump. Will I vote? Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll let you know. Lastly, a fake campaign ad by Mr. Reagan. This is parody. Don't want you to accuse me of spreading fake news here. It's funny, though. So here you go.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage of time. Right? The significance of the passage of time.
Word.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time. Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking. The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea.
Oof.
It is an alliance that is strong and enduring. And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. Mm-hmm. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. You think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay. That laugh was the real deal there. The rest of it. Huh. Parody. Perfect, though. Perfect parody. Kamala Harris is a less than perfect candidate, as is Donald Trump. But who do you think is going to win in the end? Who do you think is going to pull it off? Democrats are complaining about, say, Elon Musk being willing to donate to the right-wing cause, but Democrats have their share of little helpers, and by little helpers, I mean big helpers as well. Establishment types. What else? What else do I have for you? That's about it. I'm less satisfied with this show than I was with the last one, which is working on several hundred views at this point, surprisingly. Not sure how far this one will go, but sharing is caring. I'll throw that out there. Hopefully you found something I said interesting. I can't remember half of what I said at this point because my brain is so drained. I gotta go to bed. It is now, just so you know, 3:15 in the morning. So yes, I had 3 hours of sleep last night, and I'm up until 3 o'clock recording for you, or just for me. We'll see. We'll see if anybody watches this. Thanks for watching, if you do. Thanks for listening, if you did. Peace.